Patriots. Man, oh man, that music, it makes me feel like doing a samba on a cruise ship in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. Caribbean Blue. Wasn't that a great song, by the way? Someone else who tracks great songs is Chris Cordani. Chris, wasn't that a great song? Caribbean Blue by Enya?
That, and I was,
Enya.
yep. And yeah, and again, she's had a lot of great music. Most people only really know Ornico Flow and I guess the other song too, Only
Caribbean
Time.
Blue. I just said it.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's a
another one?
Caribbean Blue.
I,
That's a good one.
I only know Caribbean Blue and Orinoco Flow, which
Yes.
both have to do with Women's Time of the Month. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
You'd think there would be a more aggressive song, like death punk, if you will, if that was the case, right?
I would have liked to seen her. Why didn't we ever see she and Led Zeppelin together on stage? I don't know why that never happened. You know.
Oh, that's a good question. You know who I liked back in the day? I always enjoyed the Divinals. I don't know. You just got me thinking of the Divinals
Oh,
for some reason.
I touch myself when I think. Well, no, I don't touch myself when I think of you, but I know the song. Yeah, she was kind
Pleasure
of
and Pain. Oh, they've been
Pleasure
around.
and Pain.
Yep, and
That's
of
a
course
great
they did
song.
Yep, Love is the Drug. They had some classics. I always wanted
They
to
were
interview
Australian,
Chrissy
right?
Amphlett. I actually had a friend who was a friend of Chrissy Amphlett, but she wasn't feeling very well. This is a little before she died when we were discussing having her on, and
That's too
she
bad.
couldn't come on. Yeah, it was terrible.
That's too bad. She was
Yeah,
very talented, and she's Australian, right? Wasn't she Australian?
it was an Australian band. It was a
I thought.
couple. I think it was a husband and wife team leading the show,
Yeah.
and the rest of the band. But she had a distinct voice. And there are a lot of great distinct voices of the 80s and 70s that we miss.
Yeah. That's too bad. Yeah, she and Robert Palmer was. I like him too, and he's passed. And then, who would ever forget Falco? Uh, Come and Rock Me, Amadeus.
Yes,
He had some other controversial songs too. He did some
killed,
other
and with Genie, you're talking about Genie Part One was banned in
Yeah.
several countries. MTV tried to push it. This was a story about he was the story about a rape of a woman. The rapist was in love with her, and it was told from the point of view of the rapist. There were 5 songs in the series, 3 of them done by Falco, one by the brothers who wrote the song after Falco died, and another done by Falco was kind of a posthumous one. Oh, not a posthumous. No, excuse me, not a posthumous one. It was kind of like an epilogue. An epilogue.
Yeah, they stuck it together after he passed.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he also did something called I think it was Wiener Blood. It was something about blood. Yeah. Great video, by the way. And man, that was another controversial song. You didn't see much airplay on MTV. So
I bought that album when it came out. It actually had a great song about Greta Garbo called Garbo. It had Falco Rides Again was my favorite song on that album.
I've never heard that. I have to listen for that.
It's a great album. He also has a cover of Do It Again by Steely Dan, and it's absolutely fantastic.
I have to find that out. Well, speaking of doing it again, somebody's been doing again in restaurants, and they've been rating them.
Oh, yes. And
here we go. Here we go.
Nora O'Donnell and her husband. Their restaurant was hit. This is why the left is defending all of this illegal immigration on what's going on, because they benefit.
That's right. I guess Chris, I never went there, but I think people should have had a clue when they had Trinidad de Agua margaritas on the menu. I thought that should have been like a giveaway. And one of the locations was on New Mexico Avenue. Another indicator. These things were hidden in plain sight. So
they're going to rock down to New Mexico Avenue.
That's right. Terrible. They're going to be eating. Yeah, I know. And they're gonna be making true that song. I wish it was in Tijuana, eating barbecue iguana. Well, they're all going back to Tijuana. I'm telling you right now, it's like those people who are cooking in that restaurant can cook up some good old barbecue iguana south of the border. Right, that's where they're going.
I did once get to ask Stan Ridgway what it tasted like. He just said it tasted like chicken. That's all. I'm sure I'm not the first guy to ask the question, but I had to do it because I did the interview. I have to put these interviews back up somewhere.
We should bring him on sometime.
I got to see him in concert at the Turning Point in Rockland County, New York. Oh, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It was mostly acoustic. He had his band. His wife was there. His wife has her own band, Pietra Wexstrom. She also is in his band officially, but she has Hecate's Angels. That's hers. But if you see the video for Camouflage or some of his early 80s or early 80s videos that are more performance like, she's in there.
Yeah. Ah, I have to look for that.
Yeah.
That's good. I love the 80s, obviously, having been kind of my coming up period, so to speak. But let's move on. Let's move back to the restaurant. So was Nora in the raid, Chris? I didn't see that in there. I think it would have been fun to walk her out, walk her out.
Let's get into the article here. I'll read it from New York Post. Immigration and Customs agents raided the Washington, D.C. restaurant owned by Nora O'Donnell's husband as part of a crackdown on illegals. Chief Goff's, a small chain owned by O'Donnell's spouse, Jeff Tracy, was among the handful of eateries targeted by the feds, on Tuesday. Nearly a dozen of them got in there. The employment verification record used to ensure employees are legally allowed to work in the U.S. They were checking that out. They're looking at the I-9 forms. So it's interesting here because you got to see if these people are on the up and up. No one was taken into custody, though. Still. Still.
I think it's still fun. It's still fun.
Yeah.
Well, I think Nora O'Donnell should be shipped back to Ireland. What do you think? Do the Patriots think that? I think Nora ought to go back to Ireland. I think she'd be. I think there's a bar somewhere in some little village with her name on it.
I'll tell you what. Ireland's already pissed about two things: the influx of illegals, and of course, having Rosie O'Donnell move there. So they don't need another O'Donnell.
So I guess the natural question is, they must be sisters then, right?
Yeah, I got to tell you, they must be sisters. So it has to be something like that. She left. She announced she left, and nobody cared. I remember this distinctly. She said, "I'm leaving. Trump's the president. I'm leaving." So everybody's like, "Fine, you're leaving. Good, go." So a couple weeks later, nobody cared.
Go away. Yeah,
nobody cared. A couple weeks later, and all of a sudden, she comes out again saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm in Ireland. I moved out of here because of Trump. Listen to me, talk to me." And finally, she got a couple of interviews on Irish television, and maybe I think one or two over this year. So there's Rosie O'Donnell there trying to run for president.
There she is.
Yes.
Yeah. Rosie. It's interesting. Nobody has ever seen Rosie O'Donnell and J.B. Pritzker in the same room at the same time. So I think they're the same person. So by the way, another guy went overseas. The Ellen DeGeneres, didn't he go overseas? He's overseas now too.
I know. Right? Yeah, that's right. UK, right? That's in the UK.
Again, I don't know what they are.
The problem with these people is nobody cares. They're upset about it, and they're realizing how irrelevant they are, and they have to be pushy. Rosie O'Donnell had to be pushy, and to get to talk to some of these late night people.
That's right.
Over in Ireland.
Yeah, I've never gotten over Steven Seagal defecting to the Russians. That just broke my heart. So whenever anything happens now, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's a joke, by the way. I don't care about Steven Seagal, but he did become a Russian. So I think he even got citizenship. Now, see, that could be quite a pairing. Do you think that Nora O'Donnell or Rosie O'Donnell would ever hook up with Steven Seagal?
I don't think he'd hook up with them.
That could be interesting.
That's another story for another day. But
that is.
I did enjoy watching Kristi Noem yesterday.
Yeah.
She was talking about, and this is on immigration, because she was talking about how
it got heated. It got heated, yeah.
But first, her opening speech, she discussed how the incidents of encounters, if you will, of wandering illegals, as you know, went down 93% since Donald Trump took office. That's a significant number, because they all know Uncle Joe is not going to be there to protect them. Or Uncle, what's his name, Mayorkas. Anyway.
Uncle Mayorkas, the Greek chicken guy. So yeah. So anyway, but yeah, we could talk about. What do you got? Keep going.
Well, under her auspice is also FEMA, and our favorite ranking Rizzler, Connecticut Congresswoman Rose DeLauro, decided to try to push her against the wall about FEMA, and there's no evidence that FEMA has problems. Well. She was about to be schooled. Sorry. You can't do videos, and you can't have the viral moment once again.
Let's see this. Yeah.
Evidence of the
Ma'am.
failure of FEMA.
Congresswoman, we still have claims open from Hurricane Katrina. We have fire claims that are still unpaid to people who said they were due them 7 to 8 to 10 years old. They have never been paid by FEMA. So one of the worst things that the federal government can do is to stand up in front of the American public and say, we will be there. We will walk alongside you in the most horrible time of your life, and then never follow through on it.
Well, that's
What
not,
the president has said is he's sick and tired of federal agencies that pick and choose who wins and who loses. He wants to make sure that the federal government's commitment, when it makes a commitment, that it follows through. So
well,
he's going to empower
That's
states.
the right
the federal
answer, by the
government
way.
is
Yeah.
abdicating its commitment to the American people who
It
find
did certainly
themselves.
under Joe Biden's administration.
No,
but
let's-
now
let-
that Trump's
let me just say this. The
communities
Office
are
I don't
of
want to hear
Professional
that. Stop that.
Responsibility. The Office of Professional, because I knew you were going to go there. As you
Yeah,
know,
of course
FEMA's
I knew
Office
she
of
was gonna
Professional
go there.
Responsibility. Under the Biden administration, there was no evidence, no direction or agency or field leadership to discriminate against disaster victims based on political
I'll
affiliation,
give you all
which
the
was a
evidence you
charge.
need. I'll follow up with you.
Well, and
get
I
you
will
those
follow
back.
up. I will follow up, and I follow up with my colleagues, quite frankly, and to really
Quite frankly.
listen to people whose states, communities have been devastated, and what role FEMA has played. I don't know how many millions and millions of dollars went out in Louisiana. Actually, I've asked my staff to calculate that when Katrina hit, and the response was overwhelming. And the response has been overwhelming. If you want to
Well,
make
that's a
corrections,
Democratic response. How
fine.
much?
We
Well,
all
we don't know.
agree.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, we can point to thousands and thousands of air.
Well, let's,
instances where-
if you
where
wouldn't
FEMA
mind getting
was
this
timely
committee,
and
if you
responsive
wouldn't
to
mind
people.
getting this committee, the
Unfortunately,
information and the evidence where you talk about the dysfunction of the agency and where it has really failed. That would
I have a feeling that if you walk around Asheville, and if you walk around other
Yeah.
parts of North Carolina, you walk around where Katrina hit in some areas, or you look at some pictures that took very long. That's your evidence, lady.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing. It's the idea is you're supposed to say no evidence without evidence to get it in people's heads, or at least the 47%'s heads. So they go, yeah, you tell them
Yeah.
there's no evidence.
She has to be one of the most cartoon-like Nick at Night figures out there, and she's just not smart. I mean, she clearly didn't know where she was going to go because she walked right into it. Like, yeah, we have all these unanswered things. Christine Noem says, yeah, we have all these unanswered things because of Biden. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, she didn't want to hear that. It's all Trump's fault. In fact, you
Yeah.
remember when was it Hurricane Andrew? It was I think it was Andrew when
Yeah.
Bush was president, right?
Yeah,
And forgive me, I know it was one of the hurricanes. I think it was Andrew. Federal emergency response went in there. They did their job and they took care of things. And George W. Bush, the president at the time, said the guy who ran FEMA, and I forget, his name escapes me, did a bang up
Brownie.
job. The media, Brownie did a backup job.
Great,
The media went
good job.
after
Good job,
him.
Brownie.
Right.
Good job, Brownie.
The media went after him because, hey, where was FEMA
Yeah.
before the hurricane?
And then
It's a
Honore, then
response.
that General Honore came into it. Remember that guy Honore, General
Yes.
Honore, 3-star Cajun general?
But the idea is the Federal Emergency Management Association they're supposed to respond to emergencies. They're not supposed to prevent emergencies, and they don't prepare. The local municipalities should be prepared for these things. Then FEMA responds and takes care of them. And this did happen under Bush, where the media and the Democrats attacked them anyway, and it didn't happen under Biden, where the media and the Democrats are defending it.
It was Hurricane Katrina. Yeah, let's put everything in context. Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans. The guy's name was Michael D. Brown.
That's it. It was Katrina.
Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job. And then it's like, first off, there are some issues. They weren't perfect in their response because, can I tell you what qualifications Brown had to be FEMA director?
Yes.
Can I tell you? None. He was a lawyer. He's a lawyer.
Right.
And so FEMA's downfall, just for the record. See, you got me on a rant already, and we're not like 20 minutes in.
I like getting him on the rant.
FEMA was created. Let's be honest with the Patriots, right? This is Wake Up Patriots. This is also Wake Up Patriots.
We're waking up everybody.
Wake up. So FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, they were created as a black organization. I know that's going to shock people. Oh my God, I can't believe the federal government does The spooky stuff. Yes, that's what they were. So they were actually created back in the 60s when we recognized, hey, a nuclear war could be really bad. Chris, do you think a nuclear war would be really bad for us? I think it'd be pretty bad for us, right?
I think it might cause some issues here. By the
It
way,
might cause some issues. Yeah. It
yeah.
might disrupt some things. So they figured, well, we better have a way of keeping the government going. So they created FEMA. It's like it's supposed to be emergency management of the government, not of disasters. I know it's a distinction with a little difference, but it is a distinction with a difference. So FEMA then kind of exists and people hear about it because you can't hide something that big. You know, it's just too big. It's like it does a lot of things. So what happened was really in the Carter Clinton years, they really started coming out. It's like, yeah, we'll start helping with real emergencies. They were never supposed to be helping with emergencies, but it's like, okay, we'll help. It's part of our cover. Well, their cover kind of became their primary job, and they still do the other stuff too. Not well, I might add, but just saying. And so that's how FEMA got to be FEMA. And then FEMA was kind of cool in that it could get things done when it was told to because it reported directly to the White House. It reported directly to, the guy in charge, the president. But George W. Bush, the 43, right, Chris? 43.
Yeah. I'm even losing track at this point. Yeah.
Well, I've never gotten why 41 is HW and 43 is W. It seems like it should be the other way around. I don't know. I don't
think so. But I think Herbert went out of style when George W. was born.
They're no fans of mine, and I don't like them either, so it's okay. Anyway, back to the story. So when 9/11 happens, they do this thing called the 9/11 report. You'll be hearing more about that. Oh, good time to tease what we're doing. I'm going to be on a major podcast, I think, coming later this week. I don't want to announce it till it's for sure, but me and the entire Able Danger team will, the ones we can get together in short notice, we may do that. So anyway, more to come on that. Watch my social media. Chris and I will be talking about it later. This just developed overnight. So anyway, more to come on that. Back to the story. The 9/11 Commission does a report saying, oh, we didn't have sufficient coordination between bureaucracies. Let's create another bureaucracy. That's going to work. That's a good idea. Okay, the bureaucracies didn't work, so we're going to create a new one that's even more convoluted called DHS. So DHS takes over, they take over Homeland Security, they get Customs Service, Coast Guard, and FEMA. They give them FEMA. It's like, okay, here you can have FEMA. So they take FEMA out from under the White House, put it under 5 layers of bureaucracy, and they make it worse. So I just don't know how when the conclusive evidence results in a report that says bureaucracy helped cause this, and you build more bureaucracy. I'm not sure. Is that helping, Chris? I don't think it's helping. I don't know.
Again, bureaucracies are, and I want to also add this about the Biden era FEMA that people might not remember, and maybe they do. The money was moved from the FEMA budget to give to Biden's swath of illegals that he brought in, and it's going to be great on June 12th to have to hear Kathy Hochul, Tim Walz, and what's his name, J.B. Pritzker, have to testify in front of Congress about their sanctuary states.
Yeah, that's going to be
We're
good.
See if, that I'd like to see. Hopefully, Marjorie Taylor Greene will be in there giving them a little browbeating. That would be really nice. Yeah. She's always fun to watch.
Yeah, she is actually entertaining, and she's right. I mean, she's like Matt Gaetz. People don't like her because she's like in your face. And I've just gotten to the point. It's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Because I hear this from people in the concern. Well, she's a little bit radical. Yeah, okay. Is this the other side didn't have radicals like
she's
like
not that
Lex
radical.
Luthor? What's that name? Like her. There's AOC and there's Lex Luthor,
Ayanna
the Black
Presley.
Lex Luthor. Yeah, Ayanna Presley.
Oh, wait! I'm going to stop you there because I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene is that I would say is that radical. If you watch her, she really isn't.
I
She
don't think so.
but she is not afraid to call out either side, and that's something that
Yeah.
I do agree with. There was she's outwit. You saw her at the State of the Union a couple of years ago, blatantly outwit Joe Biden. Not that that's hard,
That's not hard.
but
That guy's like witless. So
but there was one instance where there was a vote. It was one of those where the House members had to vote with that big yay or nay thing. She said, "No,
Yeah.
I want you to put your names by this vote because it was a controversial vote. I want you to put your names by this, and then you give a yay or nay. We want the roll call." So she
Yeah, good.
forced the roll
Roll call.
call, and people had to be responsible for what they voted for. And there were some vote changes, as a matter of fact.
I'm sure.
Right. So this is a
I'm-
woman who's she may conduct herself a little crazy, but she actually has done a very good job as a statesperson.
Yeah. That's part of the problem I've seen so far with politics, being a politician now, is that, and I, God forbid I ever go down the path that I'm about to complain about. Politicians tend to make decisions based on triangulation. The master triangulation, amongst other things that have lation on the end, is Bill Clinton. Bill was pretty good with that. So,
Well, Michael Penn was his advisor and at the time, and he wrote a really interesting book about triangulation.
yeah.
Yeah, so he did,
And-
and yeah, he was the guy behind that, and that's
Yeah.
the idea is to get as many people to agree with something, but don't look radical and make sure you look moderate the same way. That's kind of a simple way
Yeah.
to put it. Yeah.
But in any case, politicians generally want to promise you everything and deliver you the minimum.
Right.
It's like promise big, deliver little, and then create conditions for continued want. It's like, oh, and then make the other side the enemy. Oh, I tried so hard for you. I tried to get you that new scooter, but your dad wouldn't let me.
And now
So,
you know why a lot of Republicans are against Donald Trump and his his moves to
Oh,
actually come through with his campaign promises.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
campaign on them later on.
Like, we're going to take care of this stuff.
Right.
It's going to take away things we're supposed to be like offering people and pulling away at the last minute.
Right.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right.
Well, I'll give you one more before we have our guest Ruthie
Yeah.
Bloom talk to us because a lot's
keep
happening in the
going.
Middle East. But I do want to say to your point about politicians, Tom Homan is
I'm
not
jealous.
a politician, but he
Yeah,
will
no.
tell you like it is. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is. The two of them are kind of feuding, and while she pulls politics, he answers that I believe on the Ingram show. Ingram Angle, I believe it's called, and let's watch this.
Yeah.
Tom Homan, then acting director of ICE, said that he was going to threaten to refer me to
Threaten.
DOJ because I'm using my free speech rights in order to advise people of their constitutionally guaranteed protections.
Wait, before we go forward,
No.
Tony, do illegal aliens have constitutional protections?
No, they don't. As a matter of fact, this whole thing with the now absent from the news cycle Maryland man is that the truth is he had already had 2 hearings and lost both of them.
Oh, and he was,
There's Article 2 courts and Article 3 courts. Article 2 courts are those set up. A little lesson here. Article 2 courts are part of the executive branch, and they're the ones who do the review. And when when you lose your review, you're eligible to go. It's like, okay, you lost. Go away. And remember the end of Ferris Bueller? Go away. Just go away. You can't stay here. Go away. It's like like that. It's like that's like a matter of fact. I think all the court dressed like Ferris Bueller. It's like, hey, go away. You gotta go now. And it's like, yeah, no, they've lost. And so Tom is correct. And then she said, well, it's my First Amendment right to break the law. No, it is not.
well, it's her First Amendment right, but these illegals don't have constitutional rights to be here and lie about asylum.
You cannot inform people how to break the. It's like if you're the getaway driver in the car. You're sitting outside the bank and you're saying, "Hey, bud, here's a glass cup. When you shatter this glass cup on the safe, it's going to open. Here you go." You're an accessory. You're a freaking accessory.
Well, let's hear what Holman had to say.
Yeah, let's hear this.
And he may want to do it again today. And to that I say, come for me.
Tom,
Go for her.
come for me.
Look at him smile.
I take pleasure. I can live with her mind rent free every day. But we all know exactly what she's doing. Like I just said, she's educating the worst of the worst. How to invade law enforcement. But the tables have now turned. She's educating people how to get prosecuted because you have a final order. It is illegal.
Yeah, there you go. See,
to
final
not
orders I'm
comply
talking
with that
about.
order.
Yeah.
It's a crime to take steps to not comply with ICE removal orders or not comply with ICE actions taken in custody.
And there you go.
There you go.
Excuse my cough. A little tough there, but there you go. And again, Tom Homan doesn't mess around.
So let's ask the Patriots. Patriots, should we ask Tom Homan to lock up AOC, or should we deport her to Canada so she could go? Could we trade her for something to the Canadians? Do you think you think Prime Minister Carney would give us anything for her?
Yeah, I'm going to ask.
I'd like to negotiate that deal.
I think they'd love AOC over there because she's one of them. So we'll give them AOC, and I'll take Ivan. I'll take Men Without Hats.
We should be able to do a survey. That's one thing I wish we had in the chat. We could do a survey. It's like, what should we arrest AOC and put her at Alcatraz, or should we trade AOC to the Canadians for Labatt's beer? I don't know.
Maybe Elsinore, because if there's a mouse in the beer, you get free beer, eh?
So I made a joke on Australian TV the other day too, because they were all worried. A quick aside: I was on Australian TV. You know, I do Channel 9 Today Show, and they said, "Well, you know, should we be worried about these tariffs?" I said, "No. Americans love Foster's beer too much. We can't go without it. So you're good to go."
Well, here we go. Let's go to the chat, and they answered your question, so we'll get to that, and we'll get to our guest right after this. Let's see. Red Ginger, AOC is Democrats' only hope. One Citizen D says lock AOC up, then deport her. We have a Universal 23, two ignorant people. American Mark, deport her to Canada. FFT for Trump. El Salvador is a better choice. Well, maybe. I mean, she's helping gang members. Might as well. Denise, the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996, a law enacted in Division C of the Omnibus, blah, blah, blah. Made major changes to the immigration. And I think we got more there. There. Trade for Canadian bacon. Trixie, nice job. I still want Men Without Hats. Super Trooper says Molson.
Yeah.
And I liked Molson when I was younger, I guess.
By the way, there's Super Troopers 2 is based on the United States taking over part of Canada. Did you know that?
Yes. Oh, and Denise continued the Bill Clinton. It was a continuation or improvements to Bill Clinton Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996. That makes a lot of sense. And so Canadian bacon is ham. I love that. Yes, I guess it is. But the fact is, it's still pretty.
Don't
darn
tell
good.
the Canadians. Don't shatter their dream. Don't shatter their dream.
I say take Delorio with her. We'll give them AOC and Delorio. Yeah. We'll take back some maple syrup.
Delorio, she could be like her own little hummingbird. She could like go off to the north and procreate and could make a lot of little DeLoreans. There's a group called the DeLoreans, by the way. Was she in Back to the Future? Was she like in the Back to the Future?
I don't know, but Ruthie might have been in Back to the Future. Ruthie Blum.
Morning, Ruthie. Ruthie Blum. Welcome back to Wake Up Patriots.
Well, hello, Chris and Tony. It's good to be back here. It's afternoon in Tel Aviv, by the way.
Well, you should hit the beach later and have a good soaking in the sun. So
I should, unless I want to avoid a Houthi missile or something.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. We've been talking about that. So apparently the IDF did a good job of taking out their airport in Sana'a, which is good. So that's a good thing. So so we want to talk to you about that because right now the Houthi have said to President Trump, "We're giving up." I don't know if I buy that or not because they're pretty committed to doing evil. And part of the reason, and let me say this for our patriots to understand, I'm not a neocon. I'm not for war. I am against war, having seen it a lot during my life. With that said, you do nothing to go after those who want to kill you. They will kill you. So you can't be neutral on this. You've got to take a side. The side is, in my judgment, going to do something. So Ruthie, one of the things the Houthis said, we're upset with the Israelis. We want to do things to harm them. But the real truth is they've done more harm to the Egyptians, who are, one of our allies, and they're friendly to the Israelis. They've defunded the Suez Canal. So in many ways, like the very people they say they want to hurt, they haven't, and yet they're hurting their Arab brothers. Who in the heck advises these Houthi? I mean, they seem like real idiots. What do you have to say?
Okay, so first of all, they're total idiots, but you know something? They're radical idiots. I mean, they're clowns. You have to see some of these videos of these guys. It looks like a sketch from, but they, radicals with murder on their minds, mass murder and anti-Semitic mass murder in particular.
Yep.
They have their ways of, it's not that they think rationally. They have jihad on their minds and they fire missiles, etc. What bothers me, there are two things. First of all, I agree with you. Nobody likes war. I hate this business of people assuming, right? Because, I know a lot of some of the MAGA Republicans call people like me warmongers. They call me mistakenly a neocon. I was never a neocon. I've always been
me
a
neither.
conservative.
I make that distinction. I appreciate that. I've never thought you were a neocon, Ruthie. I understand.
I never was. Okay, I never was. And also, it's a misnomer because what it means is people who had been Democrats who moved, basically Reagan Democrats. Okay, but my first election, I voted Republican. I won't tell you when it is, just because I don't want to tell you what an old lady I am. But the point is this. Point is, we don't like war, and my kids have all had to go to war in Israel. By the way, I have dual citizenship, and anybody who's upset with that should know that I file taxes to both countries. So don't be upset about that, and that I vote in the U.S. election. But here's the thing. I would like to just preface this whole thing by saying that I will personally never forgive President Trump if he enables certain people in my close circle, enables them to say to me, I told you so about this administration. And I'm fighting back on that. So yes, the Houthis also admitted that they're trying to drive a wedge between the United States and Israel on this whole thing, because President Trump said, okay, so we've stopped. We hit them hard, and now they capitulated. They haven't capitulated where Israel is concerned. Now, America does not have to fight Israel's battles. Another thing that certain Republicans are accusing us of, okay, where they sound like Democrats, that somehow we're trying to force America into war on the Jews' behalf.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. No,
nonsense.
I don't believe that.
No,
it's nonsense. We fight our own battles, but we do need our greatest ally, the United States, in our corner, not tying our hands the way the Biden administration did, for example. That we do need. Right. But that's not the same as expecting Americans to die in battle on our behalf. Second of all, I still believe, as much as war is hell, America cannot just, you want to make America great again. You can't do that by being weak in the eyes of the world. I'm sorry. And America has its interests. That's it.
No, we're on the same sheet. And I always enjoy our time on Newsmax together too. I always can count on you giving a piercing, and I'm using that with great love, a piercing perspective on the truth of what's going on. So with that said, part of what President Trump wants to involve us in is something that a lot of folks are going to get upset about, and that is the removal of all Palestinians from Gaza Strip. Now, I said last night on several shows, like, yeah, we got to do it. You cannot, if I've compared it to being a surgeon moving cancer out of the body. You can't take most of the cancer out and just leave a little bit and think it's going to go away. So what say you? Am I right, or am I off base on this?
You're 100% right. Whether it's a realistic vision remains to be seen. But we have seen in this world, especially the establishment of the state of Israel, there were people who did think that was a crazy dream. So, never say never. It's not clear whether it's realistic. Partly because, partly logistically, partly because many countries do not want any Palestinians in their borders for obvious reasons. And for another reason,
like centuries. that's a centuries old thing too.
Exactly. And then the third reason is that Israel, like America, is filled with left-wing Jews. It's not all left-wing Jews, thank God, because otherwise
No,
Israel
I
would.
see it. I see it
It's like
play out. We see
Manhattan.
it play out here.
Yeah, like
We see it
Manhattan.
play out. Yeah, Manhattan.
It's just like Manhattan. And so, and the reason I point that out is that, what's asymmetric about our warfare, when I say our, I mean the West, but mainly I mean the United States and Israel, is that we care about human beings, we care about legitimacy, we care about all kinds of values that our enemies don't. And so they have the upper hand when it comes to, and so as a result, we don't do things that are unpopular, and we also care about our voters, right?
Yeah.
So as a result, we can't just go up against half the country if it thinks that we're doing something immoral, et cetera. And that's why I'm not sure that plan will come to fruition, but I am certainly in favor of it.
So, but the one thing I don't understand, and maybe you can school me on this a little bit, 68 wars, 72 war, all the other events that have indicated that people really do want to eliminate you simply because of who you are, which I think that's bigotry and racism last time I checked. How is it the leftist Jews justify the idea of maintaining a state that would willingly murder them given the opportunity? I don't understand how they can be against removing that threat. Can you explain that to me? Because I don't understand it.
I so wish I could. Okay, my father, who actually wrote a book called Why Are Jews Liberals? I mean, his bottom line explanation is that liberalism is their religion, not Judaism.
I think it's probably
their
true.
religion. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I also really can't understand it when it's Israelis. It's one thing American Jews who live a cushy life, let's say. I mean, cushy in the sense that they don't have missiles falling on them every day and they don't go to battle. Israelis who have it right, it's right on our borders. If you haven't been to Israel, and if you haven't been to the Gaza border or the Lebanon border, the Syria border, when you're physically there, you faint down dead at how close it is. Okay, I don't think it would be like if I say to you, go to the edge of Manhattan and look across at New Jersey. Okay, look across the George Washington Bridge or something. That's farther than Gaza is from the southern border in Israel. All right, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
It is shockingly close. And Israelis who are the victims of this stuff throughout our history, but also throughout Jewish history, but let's just talk about Israeli history. You'd think, how could they possibly think this? And the reason is that they have this constant, they're under a delusion that the real reason for terrorism is that people want jobs, they want money, they want freedom, they want their own state. It's a lie. Okay, we know that a lot of Bin Laden wasn't a poor, miserable soul or something. It's not true, right?
Yeah, same
They
here
want
in
to believe the enemy is like us. That's what they want to believe.
So yeah, it's like the Gaza Strip is an amazingly beautiful place that could have been developed into literally a paradise. I mean, I think the idea here somehow that you all were, and I don't know, I get so fed up with this whole genocide thing. It's like, it's not a genocide. The Arabs have 400 million people. Palestinians are Arabs. It's not a genocide. And the whole idea that you're doing things to protect, and to your point, you live in a very compacted space, the idea that somehow defending yourself is something that you can't do. I think it's insane. And again, I reference back to the Jews in New York, a lot of the folks here in the United States, and down in Florida, driving around in their Sebrings. Not that there's nothing wrong with Sebrings; they're kind of cool. They're an ancient car.
Yeah.
So
this leads me to a question, Tony and Ruthie. I thought genocide was more like, I don't know, some ethnic group going to another ethnic group and running around killing a bunch of people in a string of mayhem on a day, or either that or rather systematically. Gee, I think I saw that on October 7th. I think I saw that in the 30s and 40s. I think I saw that with the Armenian genocide. These people who like to throw around that word and deplete its meaning are doing this twofold. They're minimizing the old genocides, the real ones from the past, while saying every time you come after somebody that we perceive as an oppressed minority, then you are committing genocide, and that's
Yes.
that's where it lies in the future. This again, these are generations of the victims of Zinstery. People, kids who learn that history is filled with only oppressors and victims and nothing in between.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That's what they're doing. I have a question from TS Money, and that's important for the chat here for you, Ruthie. What's with these explosions in Iran over the last few days?
Excellent question. The thing is this, okay, Israelis were quipping about it and joking about it in the sense that, oh, who did it? Is it us? Now, it may not be Israel, and it may not be the United States. It may actually be internal Iranian business or total negligence. We don't actually know, but, I'd be delighted to take credit for that, because I hope the Iranian regime is afraid of us and is afraid of the United States. And that's what we need. And this brings me to why I'm nervous. I hope I'm wrong. Nervous about President Trump wanting or imagining that there is such a thing as an actual good deal with the Islamic Republic, meaning that it will dismantle all its nuclear program. The example given was Libya, etc. I have to tell you, you cannot make a good deal with radical Islamists who call America the great Satan and Israel the small Satan, and make no bones about wanting regional and global hegemony. There is no good deal. They lie. It's not worth a piece of paper it's signed on. And so I'm nervous. And I hope they reject everything and that it gives legitimacy to Israel to actually take out those nukes.
Well, I think part of the deal is Iran, to Chris's question point, Iran saw what happened to Gaddafi, and they're not going to give up their nukes. It's just not in the cards every time. So that's not going to happen. But the other thing going the other way now, and Ruthie, I want to ask you this because part of the deal is, I've said this on air, I'm not giving away anything that I haven't said before, it's secret. In a warehouse in Pakistan, in Rawalpindi, there are, from what I've been told by reliable sources, about 50 atomic weapons that have been produced by Pakistan, but have been purchased by Saudi Arabia. So those are Saudi Arabian nukes that have not been deployed because the Saudis have said, we don't want to increase tension because, come on, you and I both know you're not going to move 50 nuclear weapons and people aren't going to find out. It's not possible. So the Saudis, I'll say this because the Saudis are still working with the Israelis. We're trying to reestablish the Abraham Accords. I think it's going to happen. So the Saudis got issues. Do they behead people? Yes, they do behead people. Not everybody's perfect, but
it's a little thing. Yeah,
a little thing.
Don't look at nothing to see here.
But at least in this issue, they're right. They haven't escalated the situation because the only reason they would take those nukes, and they've said it privately. Well, we're ready to arm up. We've bought the weapons. We're not going to take them until the Iranians do something. So to me, this adds impetus for us and the Israelis to stop Iran from getting nukes. What do you say?
No question about it. And here is where we have a slight problem within the Trump administration between the two different camps. Okay, so and that's been emerging very much. There's the camp that, excuse me?
I've seen it. No, I'm in the middle of it.
Okay, exactly. So, basically, if you want the way I describe it is between the camp that thinks that Make America Great Again is isolationism, and the other camp that says, no, Make America Great Again. Part of that is making your enemies afraid of you, is making peace through strength, is making, and if you have to go to war to defend American values, you do it. So there are two different camps, and it's
so Ruthie, people keep comparing this to Gaddafi. Do you recall that we sent some airplanes to bomb him before he complied? It's like, we sent airplanes to bomb him. It's like he was living in his tent because we hit his house, and it's like, oh, I'm in my tent. Thank God. No, I'm just saying that Reagan Oh, well, we want to be Reagan-esque. We don't want to attack. Well, Reagan did attack. Reagan bombed his camel farm, right, Chris?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. He said they actually what was it? Sam Kinison said, yeah, we were going over there. Said, what was it? First off, they bombed the French embassy, accidentally bombed the French embassy.
Yes, tell them why. This is great.
That was right. They were bombing because the France wouldn't let the U.S. fly over its airspace.
We had to fly way around,
right, to bomb Libya. So accidentally, they hit the French embassy.
Yeah, it's like what he said was like, the French are complaining because we hit their embassy. It's like, what? You made us fly like 20 hours. We couldn't even fly through France. So of course we're going to hit things. We're sleepy.
Well, exactly. Look, don't forget that during the Carter administration, I don't know, it's a tough call whether that was the worst administration or Biden. Who knows? It's a contest. But the Carter, don't forget that when the hostages were taken at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, as the Ayatollah came to power, the students who overthrew the Shah. Do you know that those so-called students were going originally to do this to the Russian embassy, to the Russian embassy staff, and they thought better of it because they realized what would happen to them if the Soviets, if they made one false move like that, they'd all be dead. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So they said, no, America won't do anything. And they were right. Look what happened. It was only when Reagan was inaugurated that the hostages were released.
Well, that's
another thing. Yeah, let me hit this real quick, Chris, before we go to that. Don't forget, keep your point, but let me finish this point with her. People forget how dangerous that era really was. I was working undercover as a college student, going to Europe, chasing terrorists. And Ruthie, you may recall, in the mid 80s, 86, we had bombings of U.S. facilities in Germany paid for by Libya. And oh, by the way, the Pan Am flight was bombed in 86 by Libya. So this was a dangerous time, and Libyans were acting up. So to do things without going to war, because that was a big thing. Oh, by the way, we shot down Libyan MiG-23s. Remember?
Oh, and there was that hit squad against Reagan.
Michael Reagan told me the story. It's like he was with his dad when he got a call. Like Reagan's doing something in L.A. and they call him. It's like, hey, Mr. President, the Libyan airplanes are shooting at us. What do we do? Shoot back!
Yeah,
I know. It's like
that's what
the hell? Why are you asking me? Go shoot him.
Well, the funny thing is, and I want to throw this at both of you here. Anybody who follows history and knows history has watched what the Islamists have been doing since, well, basically their inception, and read what John Quincy Adams wrote. The John Quincy Adams issued the rest of America a warning that today's politicians blatantly dismissed, and academia, by the way, does as well. I can show you something here in a few moments. But John Quincy Adams warned that the Islamists they really want to take over the world. They want to instill Sharia law, and they will lie to you when they negotiate. They're going to say they're going to do something, and they're not going to do it. We've seen this several times with Hamas and the hostages right now. That's why Israel likely has issued this ultimatum. And Trump's like, all right, fine, I'm out of it. Do what you want to them, because we gave them a chance, despite what Adams said. We knew it, and we gave them a chance to stop the trend. They didn't. And that's what happened. And you're not going to see this in many places because academia, and I want to show you this here. This is just one small example of how academia treats this actual warning. They call it Islamophobia. Some professor named Christopher Saladin did this in the Augustana College Digital Commons. I know we haven't heard of this, but this is the attitude that the left has about John Quincy Adams' warning and Donald Trump's approach to what's going on in the Middle East. They call it Islamophobia. But we see everything John Quincy Adams has said and warned us about playing in the modern era.
Yeah.
Did it occur to those people who are always accusing everyone of racism and Islamophobia that they're the racists and the Islamophobes? And you know why? Because they don't take seriously what the Islamists say. They say it, they write it, they teach it, it's in their newspapers. Now, if you have respect for another group, you actually take seriously what it vows to do. And if you're somebody who looks down your nose at anybody of color and all that, who's the racist then? They're hypocrites.
So I think that's the issue, is that, to Chris's point, they always talk about Islam being the religion of peace. Like, yes, after they dominate you and subordinate you, it's all peace. Because it's like, how do you miss that?
Yeah.
How do you miss that?
That's the thing. I guess because, again, they're victims of zinstery, where they're marginalized here. They're a minority religion, so everything they say and do has to be legged up, has to be canonized as the words of virtual saints, only because they're marginalized. Forget reading, forget history, forget the warnings, and forget watching. Hey, forget which religion had a sacred covenant with Hitler.
Exactly. And by the way, speaking of minorities, what? The Jews are not a minority in the United States?
They don't count.
You know what? It doesn't count. It doesn't count. And the same thing, you know something? It doesn't, look at this. It doesn't count for any group that does well in school. And that counts for the Asians and
That's
the
true.
Jews.
Good point, Ruthie.
Then you're fair game. You're fair game. It doesn't matter if you're a minority. It doesn't matter if you're a woman. If
Hey,
you do well in school, you're finished.
I'm Italian. Everybody hates us. When are we ever going to have an Italian American president? You know why? Because everybody thinks we're criminals. And we don't do that well in school, by the way. Well, I did all
But you know, I'm just saying, you know, this whole business about minorities and colonialism, I'll tell you, it's right out of the Soviet propaganda playbook. You invert, you accuse, you project, you invert, you infiltrate the education system, you destroy the family. It's all there, and it works brilliantly. If you look around you, look at people like AOC. She's a product of that, and she's a perpetrator.
Yeah.
She's also a product.
Well, so one of the things I want to hit real quick, and I don't want to go down this path too much because I want to continue to have our conversation, at least. The Great Society proposed by Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, that whole program was designed to upend and destroy the nuclear family, starting with the minorities. That's why the black, we're having problems here where I live in Edenton with, we just had a shooting at the local food line a couple of days ago, and it's a big deal. This is not a community that has drive-bys, and it's like we're having a big community meeting tomorrow night on this. But I put this at the feet of the liberal Democrats because it wasn't about benefiting people. It was about trying to dismantle the very fabric of the family, which has been that which helped settle civilization, help civilization thrive. And Ruthie, that's my point. It's like when you look at Hamas, you look at the West Bank, which has been pretty quiet, but it's not without issue. You look at the other nations which continue to profess terror, primarily the Shia right now, more than the Sunni. The Sunni are kind of coming around. It's like, yeah, we kind of like being civilized. We're considering reform. Al-Sisi's been brilliant on this. Al-Sisi, and maybe say this as a shout out because I was part of the negotiations. The Israelis have done way more to help the Egyptians than anybody wants to admit. If not for Israel, Egypt nation would have fallen multiple times over the last 20 years. So God bless you all for helping a former enemy. Remember, Jesus, I think, even says, not to get Jesus involved in this, you need to be kind to your enemies. And there you are, being kind to the former enemy. And that has helped solidify, I think, Egypt is a very strong ally, who, by the way, hates the Palestinians as much as you guys do, because it's like, we don't want this.
But more, because, in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood, that's their public enemy number one.
Yeah.
And you're right about Egypt. When we made the peace deal with Egypt, when we signed the peace agreement, do you realize Israelis flooded Egypt? They went to nightclubs. They wanted to see belly dancing. They wanted to eat Egyptian food.
And it's pretty good. I've seen it. I've been there. It's like they're pretty good at belly dancing.
That's Israelis, okay? As soon as there's anything, and the Israelis, since the Abraham Accords, have filled the United Arab Emirates and have filled, they just go and they want to have a good time. Do you think a single Egyptian came to visit Israel? Nope.
No.
Nope.
That's sad. That's sad. It's a culture.
Yeah.
It's got to change. It's got to change.
Yeah. It will change when Israel asserts itself in the right way, and Israel does do that periodically. We can't forget it, okay? Just because we have a wonderful country and there's a beautiful beach, okay? We can't forget it. And that's that we have to live by the sword, and then we can have peace and quiet. And that's the same about America. It's just that America is much, much larger. And so it's much harder to actually attack America, though you saw 9/11, what can happen.
Oh, yeah.
You saw that.
Well, we'll be exploring more of that, Ruthie. More to come on that, since we're going to be doing some more podcasts. Tucker Carlson just did a thing with my friend Kurt Weldon over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of stuff that's not been resolved, just like your October 7th. There's going to come a time when people have to take a hard look at what happened that day, because there are some real peculiarities. You have to admit, the 9/11, there's issues that we still haven't resolved regarding how did it happen. I think the same thing can be said regarding October 7th. We saw these guys practicing with paragliders, but we didn't think about it. Really? You didn't think paragliders was a big deal?
Yeah, it's like what were they doing? Practicing parachuting in the middle of a baseball stadium, just like Fan Man did in 1986 during the World Series.
It was exactly what we're talking about. Like the FBI and the CIA in America are security services. They were aside from also lacking some coordination or being in competition with one another, as in America. But it's not that they didn't see it. It's that what they saw, they wanted to interpret in their liberal view. That's what happened.
Now, I do have a solution to your other issue about the Egyptians not coming and not coming in mourning with Israel and everything like that. Well, we should just make sure the Israelis answer by walking like an Egyptian. And
that's right.
This way, problem solved.
That's perfect.
Why don't you guys invite Susanna Hoff over to do a concert? That'll draw them over.
Oh, yeah. I would go. And it's thank Susanna Hoff has a wonderful voice.
She's great.
Yes.
Well, yeah, she's great.
Beautiful voice.
I follow her on social media. I don't think she's come on, but I think she's fun.
Yeah, she's absolutely a great singer. In fact, tomorrow, as you know, we're going to be signing off soon, but tomorrow, Trixie, Sean, and George will be having another expert on the Muslim Brotherhood. So that'll be interesting. Her name's Kathy Henry. She's an ex-NYPD author and an expert on the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE.
Very cool.
Yeah, the Council on Arab-Israeli Relations, not CARE as in the care package from Cleveland.
No, CARE to remind the audience, CARE is an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation trials.
Yes,
where people went to jail. Just saying. They should have gone to jail too. So just CARE is not your friend. They don't care about you, right, Chris?
Hey, let's put it this way: it's a lot like fairness and accuracy in reporting. Ha. Okay, come on.
Ha. Ha.
Yeah.
It's like every time I get something caught in my throat, I go, So it's all bad. So anyway, well, Ruthie, look, we love having you on, and I know we make fun of stuff, but I hope people pick up and understand that we're talking about some very serious issues. We just like doing it with a little bit of irony. If you don't laugh at some of the nonsense, you're going to go nuts. You'll end up a Democrat if we don't want that,
no.
right?
Absolutely. If you don't have humor about it, you can't talk about serious things. Absolutely not.
Right.
Well, and the other thing is, as far as irony, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez once said, "Irony is like Goldie and Bronzy, only it's made of iron."
That's true. Well, you can put that in your garbage disposal and shred it, since she doesn't know what that is. So, Ruthie, before we go, one last thing. So, what do you see happening? Tell us, since you're there and we're not, what do you think is going to happen for two things? The Houthi. Do you think the Houthi are going to stand down? Do we have to continue military action? Secondly, do you think your government will have the fortitude to say, "Yeah, we're going to go in and take over all of Gaza"? So those are the two questions. What do you think?
Okay, well, the Houthi, for sure, the Houthis are not going to mess with America right now in the Red Sea.
Yeah.
Because, and by the way, today already 2 Houthi missiles were intercepted in Israel. And you realize that if the one at the airport hadn't been intercepted, we probably wouldn't have attacked their airport, which is a shame, because every missile should be.
Of course.
Okay. But But they are going to they're trying to drive a wedge between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't think they'll succeed, but that's their attempt. So I don't think they're going to mess with the Red Sea at the moment. Number one. Yeah. Number two, yes, Israel is going to launch this new operation in Gaza. There's no question about it. We've amassed reservists. We're going to do it. We're giving another hostage release a chance.
I think you need to do it.
We're definitely going to do it. And if we don't, it'll be a big mistake. But we're doing it for sure.
Yeah, good. Well, Ruthie, thank you for being here. This has been always informative and entertaining, like we strive to do. Chris always gets the great guests like you. We appreciate that. We're also looking at getting. Remember, we have this Rosie O'Donnell thing coming up. Did you see that from Joel?
Yes, I'm watching that, and we're working on that as I believe you guys are working on that as we speak. So we'll see. Joel's a good fellow. We got to get him on too, anyway. So
well, Joel, we'll get Joel, and he's doing a thing on Rosie O'Donnell and everything. So some more to come, and obviously I can't say anything because it's not finalized, but we are going to be
jinx ourselves.
Yeah, right after I'm done here, the team and I, the Able Danger team, we're supposed to be appearing as a group, to talk about some of the issues regarding the 9/11 failure. And I'm still trying to work. I know this is hard to believe, but after 25 years, I'm still trying to get the Pentagon to declassify my job on the operation. I know it's only 25 years, right?
All right,
What's 25 years between friends, right?
If they declassified JFK, the UFOs, things like that, this has to be in there.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. So, well, we'll see what happens, but I'll keep you all informed. Watch my social media, and I appreciate this. So, again, Ruthie, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some time to tell us and tell us what's really going on. And we'll have you back real soon, I hope. Right, Chris?
That will happen.
Yeah. I hope
and I'll
so.
see you on Newsmax too. Yeah.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah. By the way, you're not going to the Vatican like everybody else. Seems like everybody's in the Vatican right now, hoping to.
Oh, we're watching closely as we speak.
No. The Pope, that's a whole different subject, and I'm glad we didn't have to cover that one today, because I would have said things that are a little offensive. So let's.
I always make fun of the fact that the Catholics used to use a silver hammer to see if the Pope was dead, and everybody thinks I'm joking. It's like, no. They really did that. They used to pound him in the head like 3 times. Like, hey, are you awake?
Well, you got to make sure. I mean, that's why they had wakes back in the day, to make sure that the guy's really dead.
Maxwell's silver hammer, you mean?
Yeah. And that's why they had Irish wakes with plenty of cabbage. But I digress. That's a different.
Yeah, and we're not talking about a Pelosi hammer either.
That's right. That's right. Didn't the Beatles do a song about that hammer?
Maxwell's silver hammer. That's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Leonard Nimoy did one. He did a cover of "If I Had a Hammer."
That's right.
He had 5 albums.
And apparently he did. He gave it to that guy that hit Paul Pelosi. But that's a different story.
He had about.
So we got to go. We got to go.
Yeah.
Patriots, thanks for being here. We always work to be here to help. Yeah, Maxwell's silver hammer. There you go, Red Ginger. Thank you for being here. We'll be back Monday, right, Chris? Monday.
We shall.
And Ruthie, we'll see you on Newsmax hopefully soon. So thanks for being here, and we'll have a great week, and we'll see you next week.